Hello everyone, welcome to this recording. This recording is for object-oriented programming, where we try to have a good or quick transfer from Python to Java. Um, in this tutorial, I will try to go over week 1 and a little bit of week 2, and we will try to implement a very simple mini project where we can start doing things that has been done in Python in 119 and how to transfer that quickly into Java. So let's start. First, the mini project that I've tried to implement here or the tutorial will be about is called Cashier mini project. This is a typical project or very simple project where we have some input to the program. So the input will be some list of items and their prices. So we have, let's say, some item like chips with price 2 dirhams. We have, for example, pens or water with some prices, and we have, let's say 6-7 items. And during the process of this project, you will see that there is a cashier, and the cashier typically what he does, he receives some customer with bunch of items that he or she wants to buy. So he tries to scan them one by one, identifying the, uh, the item itself and the prices and the quantity sometimes. And eventually he accumulate that and he will give you as output, he will give the bill or he give you the receipt after calculation. Now, we did not implement few things here. For example, sometimes maybe the cashier want to cancel item, which means return something. We did not, or I'm not intending to do that, but I will show you how can we incorporate that in the code. Also, sometimes you want to add additional, let's say, feature where the customer provide with the amount of money and you return him back the change. This is a simple thing, but we can make it a little bit more reasonable by, let's say, returning the minimum number of bills to the customer. This requires some algorithmic, and I am sure that you've been like faced with this kind of algorithmic problem in 119. So let's start. So I have here a package under my source code in NetBeans. As you can see, NetBeans has this user interface. You'll see the left-hand side where you can, if you create a project, of course, you will have a left-hand side where you can reorganize your code, the source code and libraries and other things. We mainly here will create some classes here. In the bottom here, you'll see some feature of each item you will have. And in the bottom here, in the down here, of course, the code will be here. We'll look at that in a second. And down here, you will be the output of running the code. Okay, so let's start by creating a program in object-oriented or in Java. Normally, this program is called Java class. So choose Java class here, and let's give it a name. Let's call it, for example, mini store or mini shop, for example. Okay, and make sure that you know where this project is located at. It's under project Java application 1, which is this one. That's what you just say finish. And typically what you will have an empty program or empty class, as you can see here. You will see the name of the folder or the package where this class belongs to. So any class in Java must belong to a package or a folder. Currently I have one folder, two folder. You can tell from the icon here, this is a folder or this a package. So the technical word here is a package rather than a folder. So when I say a package, that means a folder. So currently I created my mini shop here under recordings. As a part of the recording, there are more to come. And here's the, as you can see, there are some keyword that you will not know about, we'll keep them as they are. Okay. Unlike in Python you can write code without any structure right away in the file, but in Java, any code, any variable, anything you want to write must be within a class. So it has to be within a class. And you will see that indentation is not required in Java. However, you need to add two things, begin brackets and end brackets. Let me make it a little bit big. Also, statements in Java must end with semicolon. So you need to look at that, okay? So let's start by identifying some of the basics that we need to do. So the first thing, if you look here in the right hand side here, I wrote some structure in Python where you can define items, as you can see here. You see that? So you can define items, a list of items, as you can see here. I can copy it here, and you'll see that items is chips, blah, 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 blah. Now you cannot do that in Java. So the first thing you need to do is, this is the structure that is similar to this, is called array list. But array list, we will leave it later. We will focus on one structure, one data structure called array. So this is an array of strings. So you will start by saying string and empty brackets, square brackets, and equal, and instead of brackets here, we will put curly brackets like this, and put semicolon. Don't forget the semicolon. So this way we defined an array of items. It currently holding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items. Okay. And for the time being, we're going to add one more keyword called static, and we will tell you about that later. But for now, keep it as it is. Notice that this is the item that I'm going to use in my convenience store or my shop. Notice that you can add more if you want, fine, okay. But as you can see here, what happens here? Oh, it's okay. I'm trying to, okay. As you can see here, I have variable, or let's say a variable of type array, or a list, you can call it. It has 6 items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want to make sure. Chips, juice drink, biscuit, water, candy, and coffee. And you know that we can access these things through the index, similar to Python. The other one is called prices. I want for each item here to hold a price. Of course, someone might say, okay, can we define a hash table or a map? Yes, you can, but it's a little bit more complicated in Java. That's what we were gonna split the definition into 2 arrays rather, or 2 lists rather than a hash map. But you are right, you can define for each item its price, and it will be in hash map. It will be very neat. But for now, we're gonna define again a list of prices, and prices typically are float. So we'll write float, empty bracket, and you say prices, and curly bracket, as you can see here, and we can copy the prices here. I don't want to keep typing, so let me copy the prices that I have here, and observe that typically in Java we add f to indicate what? To indicate a float, as you can see here. Okay, notice that it's not required to indent code in Java. Also, you can break things into more than line like this, fine. Okay, but we'll keep it like this. Okay. Another thing, in string, you will, like in Java, like in Python, you need to put double quotation here, comma separated. The only difference is here is the curly bracket. So here, what the data or repository that we have a list of items and we have prices. Okay. So this we will use in our code. Now let's talk a little bit about reading and writing to the screen. So in Python, you have to, if you want to read, you use input. If you want to write or print to the screen, use print. So you have the two structures, okay, So you have, for example, print hello there, right? And if you want, hey, please be small. And if you want to read from the keyboard, you're gonna use input. Similarly in Java, for printing, we have also system.out.print. It's a long, but I will show you some abbreviation here. Also, we'll have, if you want to read from the keyboard, we have a class or a program called scanner, where we can read from scanner. As a matter of fact, scanner is general class where we can read not only from the keyboard, but also we can read from files also. So this is the thing that we need to do. So as you can see, um, you will see that we can read things here and there in your project. Now, let me run a program and show you what's going on if we do things. Now, one of the things that you might need to know is the main method. Where is the main method? I don't have a main method. Okay. Typically, in Python, you have the main method written like this: if underscore underscore main underscore underscore colon, and here you say you do whatever you want. And typically, the main method here, let me uncomment it, comment this. Okay, so the main method is the starting method, or here we go, starting function, let's call it function, okay, to run your code. So you might have many functions. In object oriented, by the way, when we say function, we mean method. In object oriented, the technical term is method. So when you hear method, it indicates function. So the main method in Java, it's a little bit more sophisticated than in Python. So in Java, you would write something like public static void, and you type main. And typically in main, you have a parameter of type array of string, args, and curly brackets. So this is how to here write your code here. Okay, so here when you write your code, the first point where the execution of your application happening is in the main method. So I can, for example, print something. So you can abbreviate print out by saying sout tab, and this will be generated hello there. Okay. So currently I have the items here, I have the prices, and in the main method, I'm just writing or printing hello there, okay? So how can I run this? I can just right click here and say run file. And you will see, as you can see here, what you get is hello there. Again, you just say right click here on the area here, and here there is run file, and it will run again. Of course, if you want to run again, you just hit this one. It will run again and again and again. It doesn't do anything, just say hello there. So I can say hello there, hello to my mini store. Okay, I can have it, I save and just run again, and it will give you hello to my mini store. Okay, so what do you want to do in this project? Let's build this project step by step. Okay, so and let's do this through developing methods. Okay, and in the methods we will incorporate loops, if statement, and stuff like that. Okay, so if I am in the main and I say, okay, hello to my mini store, typically what I do, I print the method. So I print the menu. Okay, and so this is a function or a method where I am printing the menu. Notice that the menu is not written yet. So here I am thinking in loud to show you that you can start conceptually with things, and after that convert that into code. So if you look in the right hand side here, if you have a bunch of items and their prices, typically if you want to print this as a menu, of course you want to show, like here, to the customer, hello, here's, or maybe to the cashier, to list each item and the price as in a menu. Okay. And why do we need to do that? Somehow we want to tell him that if you press 1, this is for chips and this is the price. If you want to press 2, this is for juice and this is for drink, and so on and so forth. So you want the cashier not to memorize the code of each item of each item. We want a way to let him know about that. So here I am calling this menu item menu or menu item. Maybe if I call it menu, it would be better, right? Menu or display menu, let's say. I can say display underscore menu. This is typical, the good name, but in Java, typically we use something like this, display menu, okay? Now, again, the main method, as you can see here, it starts with this curly bracket and here. So after that, and of course here, there's a curly brackets that correspond to the class itself. So the main structure is the class. Inside, you will define variables and you define what? Methods. So here I will be going to define the display menu. So it's gonna be a method called display or function called display menu. It doesn't take any parameter, as you can see. Why? Because everything I have it. I have all the things defined in a variable which are a little bit global. Functions that are defined at the top, so I can access them. There's no need to redefine them. They are there, chips, drink, and their prices. So here there's no parameter here. But in Java, if you don't retain anything, you must say something like void to indicate I am not returning anything to this function or to this method. And typically display menu doesn't retain anything, just display the items. Just display the items to you, right? So let's see how can we display the items through a loop, of course. And after that, we go step by step. So in addition to that, also, as I mentioned, in most of the coding at the beginning or in the first 3 lectures, you will add static, and we will talk about later. But for now, add it blindly, okay? So what do I want to do here? I want to go over the items and print the code of the item, the description of the item, and the price. Okay, now what is the code? I will assume that the code, if I go to the right here, if I assume the items here and the index, which is the implicit index for each element, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is the code. So, however, the 0 code, I'm not gonna consider that. So what I'm gonna consider in terms of code, this 1, this 2, this 3, this 4, this 5, and this is 6. So this is what I'm gonna consider the code. So the code will be the index plus 1. So right, so the code will be index plus 1. Is this clear? So that's what I'm going to consider. Let me make it clearer here. Okay, so by default, any array or list has an implicit index where you can access the element, but it's gonna be starting from 0. For us, we're gonna start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It makes more sense for the cashier. And the same time, so what is the code for any item? It's the index itself plus 1. So I want to print them in a nice way, okay? Maybe I can, because every time I want to print this message, so I can take this message and print it here first. Hello to my mini store. I can also say system out, add a bunch of empty line like this to make it nice. And I want to have a loop where you can go over the items. Now, if you want to go over the item, here's the loop that you need to do it in Python. So it's a for loop, I in range length of the items, and you want to format the output. Of course, in Python, I'm using printf, where you can have any, of course, f, after f, there's double quotation and double quotation, as you can see here. And for after each, you can add text here, but if you want to add a certain kind of variable inside, you can include it in a curly brackets. This is in Python. Now in Java, it's going to be a little bit different. So you need to have a loop, and in Java, the loop is different. So you'll say for loop, okay, like this. And in the loop, there is semicolon to indicate you have to have two semicolons inside, where you have three statements. The initialization part here. So you want the I, which is in a range, you can say integer I equals 0. And again, for any variable, you must have I. You must have I as you must have a type for a variable. Now the condition, I want to go from I to the end of the list, I less than items dot length. Notice that unlike in Python where you say length of item, here you say items dot length. And here you increment I as you go. Okay. Now I am ready to go through the items, and I would like to print. Okay. So print. So I'm gonna switch from print to printf, similar to Java. And here I'm going to print the following. I will bring first the code, which is I. So instead, so to print the code, typically in Java, there's a tag for the %d to indicate that this is an integer digit or integer d. And I will put dash, and after that I will say, okay, I would like to print the item name or the item description, which is string. So I put %s, and after that I would like to have a brackets like this, and in the brackets I will see, or I will add the %f, which is the price, and I can add at the beginning dirham like this. So this one I will add a corresponding variable here. For this one, I will add a corresponding variable here. And for this, I will add a corresponding variable in, and these variable will be at the end here. So the %d, which is the code of the item or the index, gonna be I plus 1, because I want not 0, I want 1. So I added 1. You remember here you said that, you remember that the code should be index plus 1. So whatever index which is I will add 1 to it. Now S is the description of the item. So I will access items of I, very similar to the list. So I will access item I, so it will be chips, or when I is 2, it means juice, drink, or biscuit, and so on and so forth. And finally, I want the prices of I to indicate the price. Okay. Now, notice that in the main method here, we have display method. And that when we call display method, the control of the program will come here with a loop. Okay. And I can, at the end, when I exit the loop, add a simple like lines like this. Okay. If you run, you will see something funky, right? You see 1 chips with amount of money, 2 juice with amount of money, 3. So they are all in the same line. So I made a mistake. I did not add a new line. So here at the end of the part of the formatting of the printf here I can add \n to indicate what? To indicate the new line. So if I run again, it looks better, right? Not so it's still, there's a problem. If you look how many zeros for the price, a lot of zeros, right? So how can we restrict that to 2 digits only? You come to the format here, which is F, and you just put 0.2. 0.2 indicate 2 digits after the point. So if you run again, you will have it nicer. You see, you'll have it what? Nicer. This is the menu. Okay, is this clear? Afterward, now we want to look at the input. How can we get input from the user? Okay, so to get input from the user, we are going to define 2 other variables here at the top. And these variables, static, integer, I will call it current code. What is the code? Currently, I can put it 0. Here I indicate the code where the cashier enters. So he wants 1 for chips, 2 for juice, and so on. So this is the code that the cashier will enter. Okay. Also, I need integer with it, which notice that I focus integer. Integer is nicer to use than the string, so it's better to use integer. And using the index, I can access the element in the array, so it will be straightforward. Now, also I want quantity or the current quantity, and by default it is 1, which means if the user enter or if the cashier scans an item and the item he didn't provide quantity, I assume it's 1. Okay. However, if he hit 2, that means 2 of that item. Okay. So these two variables I want to have them. Now, in addition to that, I would like to prepare and use the scanner class for reading. So I can define, like input, I can define scanner only once here. I just say static scanner, and I say, let me call it input. How about that? And I say, of course, when you say input, you say new. If you want to initialize it, this is an object, and we will talk a lot about objects here in this class. You need to know that in order to set the object, you need to use the keyword new. Now, unlike the primitive type, like here, like current code is an integer, just you say equal 1 or equal 0, right? But for object, you must use new. So you say new scanner, and you specify where do you want to scan from, and you can use this as they are and in the definition. So we are going to use system.n, which is the keyboard. It's a variable for the keyboard or a reference to the keyboard. The last thing is that you'll see this one has a stop sign, which is error. If you try to run, it's not gonna run because it's told me there is compile error. What the error here? It tell me our scanners misspelled here. Still, there is a problem here. If you try to run also, you will get also. The problem here is that Java doesn't recognize scanners. So one thing is that you just say, most probably you need to import it. Like in Java and Python, you need to import libraries and functions and methods. Here also you need to. So one way to import, I don't know if Alt Enter, does it work? Yeah, see, if you hit Alt Enter, and it will tell you add, import, add, or do other option to solve this problem. Our problem will be solved by the first thing here. So it added what? The class that you want to use, which is a scanner. So here it is. Now it's all okay. This underlined here indicates warning. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about them. Okay. So now let's move on. So one thing we want to do is prompting. I think you took that in Python a lot. How can you prompt the user to enter something? If you look at the right-hand side, here's some methods to prompt using the input by displaying a message. And also you can, whatever the user, you can also ask the user to enter something using input. So prompting means displaying a message with reading some value. So prompting, displaying the message to the user with reading some value. So for example, if you want to ask the user to enter a code, you just say prompt enter code. So this is the message that you want to display. And because prompt here you are using input, the user will input some value, and this value will be converted to integer. And once converted to integer, you assign it the current code, because this is the current code that you want to evaluate, right? So this is the code in Python. Okay. Now in Java, we're gonna do something a little bit different. Okay. So what I'm gonna do here in Java, I'm gonna create a method here. So basically here, after display a message, I want to say to the user, I want to say something to the user to prompt to uh, to select some code. What exactly you want to do? Do you want to scan an item? Do you want to cancel? Do you want to do whatever you want? There are different kind of options the cashier has, and after that we um, want to handle that. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is prompting. So let's write a method called prompt, and we will use it in a second. So again, you start with static, okay, and we will retain a string as they are, and we'll see what kind of input the user gave us. And this method called prompt, and also there's a message to be printed from this function. So the user, when you say prompt, he has to provide me with the message. Unlike in Python in the input itself, you can have the message here, right? You can write whatever you want here, as you can see here. Now the user will provide me with a message, enter, for example, something or do something. And once you want to do something, okay, so the first thing you want to do to print this message. So you just say system out message. So this is the first thing you want to print, okay? I will remove the print line, so I will have the input in the same line. And now I want to read from the keyboard. Okay. Now read the keyboard. I'm going to use this input, which is the scanner, and I will read a whole line. So I will say input, and I say read line. Okay. It seems to me the name has a problem, I guess. Input. Let's see here, scanner input. It seems to me there's output, there's input. Let's see, input dot. Okay, I see now. It seems to me the input is reserved for something else. So let me change the variable here. Okay, let me write it, for example, instead of input, keyboard. How about that? Okay, let's write it to keyboard, because this is what I think what make it keyboard dot. Now I have, oh, it's the same. Okay, let me just return null here. Okay, it seems to me I was mistaken. Let me keep back input here again. Okay, and let me say input dot. Oh, I see. I made a mistake. I forgot about it. Okay, input dot. I should say next line. Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot. So the name of the method is called next line, and here what value you get. So next line here. So you print the message. Okay, what you want, and here you read whatever input from the keyboard, and you save it in a value. And notice that in a variable you must specify value here, like what, like a string, or you can say var. You have two options, as you can see. Either you can say var, and Java will know that this value is string, or you can put it string, and string is capital letter, not small letter. Now you just return value. Okay. So here what you are doing, you are prompting the user, tell him enter something, and the user will enter something. Let's try this. Okay. So let's say, for example, under display in the main, I will say prompt. Okay, enter your name. How about that? Okay, and here I can say var name equal. So whatever he will enter is gonna be his name. You see how does it go? So I can print you entered name. So here prompt, it's a function or a method. I pass a message, it will be printed inside the function. Okay. After that, I will ask the user, okay, he asked you to enter the name. So you're supposed to enter the name and return it back to me. Once it returned back to me, I will be saving it in a variable called name or whatever, and I print it. Okay, so let's try it. So here you see it printed the menu as we want it, and after enter your name, and I will say Salim, and you say you entered name Salim. See that? This happens also if you try to enter numbers, also if you enter 3444. But remember, this is number. These numbers are a string, not numbers. It will be treated as a string because here we are saying next line. Okay. And by the way, if you say input dot next line, you will get here the next line, or if there is next double, you can read double, you can read float, integer, you can next line. And here's the documentation of this method. What does it do? And what error can produce, and so on and so forth. You can read more. Of course, I cannot tell you everything in here, but I will give you the basics. And eventually, while we are going in the classes, I will be explaining things to you. Okay. And also there will be a couple of recording that will cover other things. Okay. But again, here, this is a typical thing where it's like input, but in different format here in Java. And whatever you read, you save it. And what you save, you must have a type. Either it has a type, or you can use the keyword var if you don't want to provide a type. Okay. Again, you can run it and you can say, okay, enter your name. I say Alia, and you get the name Alia. See that? And the program is end as you can see. Okay. Now, one thing is, okay, what if you want to prompt for a code? Here you prompt for what? A string, right? But if you want to select a code, okay, that means the code must be a number because the code is either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So, and you want to deal with numbers, you need to convert that to integer. Remember that in Python, you can use int to convert a string to integer. Also, we have also something like similar. So here, let's see here. Let me copy this. And let's have it static. And here I will say void. Okay. And here I don't want to retain anything because I'm going to save whatever value entered here with the current code. Okay, you could retain code, but here I'm defining variables, two variables to be used for selecting a certain code. So if the user entered 3, okay, I will save it here. I convert this, of course, to integer and I put it here. So here again, I will call this method, as you can see here, they call it select item code. So select item code. And of course, there's no need to give a message here. I'm not going to give a message. What I'm going to do is basically to just print the message itself. Okay. Of course, I can use prompt right away. So I can say, for example, string code, and I say prompt enter item code. Okay, so I got the code as a string. So I'm using this method, okay, to get the code. But the code now needs to be converted to integer. Now I will use current code, which is this variable defined here, to hold this value. So I will say, okay, I will say, I want to convert code to integer. Integer like code, this doesn't work. This work in Python, but in Java, you need to do something a little bit more sophisticated. So you say integer dot parse integer, and you pass the code. Okay. Current code. Okay. Integer parse integer and the code. Okay. Do I need to return something? No need. I put void here to indicate I'm not going to return anything because I'm going to use the global variable current code, which is accessible everywhere in my class, everywhere in my program. So these things here are accessible everywhere in your code, everywhere in your code. So you can access them right away. There's no need. So at any moment, you have one code entered, and also you might have also one quantity entered. So you need to consider that. Okay, of course I can make these two things in one shot. I can do this in one shot, but let's break it as they are, as you can see here. Okay. Okay. Moment. Let's see here. Now, notice that one more thing we need to do here. We need to consider the quantity. What is the quantity that the cashier found with this user? Maybe you will want chips. Maybe by default is 1, but also he might need to get the chance to enter 3 or 4 or 5, right? So the way we'll do it is that if he enters enter, which means nothing, we'll assume it's what? It's 1. But if he enter 1 or 2 or 3, we'll consider the quantity. Okay. So we'll do something similar. Okay. By saying here's quantity here. Prompt enter quantity. Okay. Now he will enter quantity. Now I have two options. He might provide me with enter or with empty quantity. So if here's the if statement for the first time. Again, if statement will look like this. If there's a condition and begin and end brackets, this is a typical one, unlike in Python where you can put column. So the condition here is what I'm saying. If Q is blank, or now or is different in Java. Python you write or, but in Java colon. I'm sorry, pipe. Okay, Q is empty. Notice that there's a plenty of things we can use. So if he enters for me nothing or blank, okay, in this case I will say current code, current quantity. Let me just see what the name, current QTY. Okay, current QTY will be equal to 1. I misspelled maybe. Okay. Now I can say else if there is a value. In this case, I need to also convert it to integer. I say integer dot parse integer, and I'll put what? Q. Okay. So here I set the current code and the quantity in my project. Okay, let's try it. Okay, let's see the logic behind this. So here, here's the main. So you prompt, instead of prompt your name here, okay, let's say here, select, what did I call that? Select item code. How about that? Select item code. Okay. And once you select item code here, I can say print item. Okay. And of course, by the way, you can use print ln with plus here. Print f with formatting. Print ln, you can add pluses like in Python. Of course, I know that when you select item code, you're gonna save them where? Here, right? So I will say, okay, I want to print the item description by say items of current code. Okay. Also, I want to say what is the price. Okay, maybe or quantity. Maybe I can also print price also. Okay, I can say prices of current code. And also I say what is the quantity. And the quantity will be is current quantity. How about that? Notice that println I can have it in 2 lines with pluses, as you can see here. So let's start. Okay, suppose enter item code. Let me put 2. How about 2? Okay, what did I get? Oh, it get me the quantity. I will give enter, which means He told me biscuit 2.5 quantity 1. Is that right? Let's see. Biscuit, code 2, it should be what here? Ah, juice. Why he choose 3 biscuit here? I put 2, he gave me 3. I see. In front of me, the items are numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if you look here, items are starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see that? So there's a problem here, as you can see. When you choose the item code here, it's you need to do what? To subtract it with 1. You need to subtract it with 1, because if you choose 1, it's 1 chips, but in the index here 1 is juice. You see that? If you choose 4 water, 4 is candy. Okay, water is 3. So that's why you need to subtract it by 1 to make the things work. Now if you run again and choose 2 again, and you say enter, you see 2 juice, and price is 2, which is correct, and the quantity is 1. You can run again, and let's try 4 and 4 quantity, and you'll see that you choose water and price 1 dirham and quantity is 4. See that? Anyway, so now we are set to bring things all together working nicely, and try to do more things in our thing. The last thing I want to do is in the menu here, I want to give the chance for the user. Okay, before we give the chance, there is a let's go and the main method here, of course, here. And let's let me bring you the general algorithm to do this project. So we covered all of this. So this is the general flowchart to do the project, and what I'm trying to tell you what to do, okay, or the features of this project. So currently we'll have some items here going on, and we have a couple of variables used and input, and the idea is that you'll see some loops going on. By the way, let me make this bigger, and I need a loop. Let's say loop like this. So you'll see a loop here, and also you have also a loop here. So there's a loop like this going here. There's a loop like this. So once you read the code, and here when I say the code, I don't mean only the code of the items. So you read something from the input, which looks like here when you say select or prompt. You prompt the user to do something. Now you check and see what kind of input the user gave you. And you might have 4 options. One option is he is done. I want to exit. And if you want to exit, you have to dedicate a code for the exit. And the code for the exit is going to be 0. So if the users decide, say, I want to exit, you go and say, okay, let me calculate the bill for you, and you have to pay for me for that, okay? Also, there is a cancel. Let's give it a code 400. If he enters cancel code, this indicates that he wants to cancel an item. So it's as if that he forgot, okay, say, I don't want this item, I want to return it back. So you have to cancel it and go back and read the code. Notice that when you exit the program, you're done. But if you cancel and you go back in case there are items to be read. Okay, so there is a loop, as you can see here. What if he enter invalid code? Okay, so instead of, let's say here 1 2 3 4 5 6, he enters 7. There's no 7. So you need to check there whether the code is valid. If it's invalid, you need to give him what? Maybe I forgot to do something here. Maybe invalid code, you might need to do something like this. Print error message, and after that go back to reading. You see, you know what I'm saying here? Okay, let me make it white in the back so that, okay, here we go. You see that? So this is another loop. So how many options do you have? An option if you want to finish, exit. An option if you want to cancel an item. An option if you want to invalid code. And there's an option, the green one, in case the item is valid. And this case, we want to add that to the bill. So there is a concept of a bill, and everyone knows what we mean by a bill. A bill basically is a list of items that you want to buy, okay? And each item, there's a quantity and the price and subtotal, and eventually you will end up with the total, okay? So you need to calculate that. Let's see how can we calculate that. Okay, so we have 4 options, right? Let's do this loop here. So here in the main menu, okay, where's the menu? Here's the main method here, which is the main program here. Okay, notice that we wrote many code here: display menu, prompt, item code, and so on and so forth, right? So the first thing we want to do here is to display the menu, right? And after that, if we after display the menu here, you read the code, decide, go back. Read the code, decide, go back. So every time it's a good idea to show the menu to the user, to the cashier, so that he doesn't forget things there and things becomes what clear for each item. So I will say, okay, we need a loop. Okay, here's a loop in Java, and here I'm going to use while loop, very similar to I think there is a while loop in Python. Again, there is a condition here, and here begin and end brackets. So this is end of while loop. All what you need to do, of course, condition, I will keep the condition true, always true, okay, so that we can do things. Okay, I remove this line of code. So here's the thing that we want. The first thing we want to do is what? We want to define or to ask the user to select some code. Okay, to select what? Item code. We want him to select item code. And what's the item code that he can select? What's the item code that he can select? He can select the item itself, the item number, right? Or he can select I want to cancel, or he can select I want to do what? I want to exit, or I want, or maybe he selected correct item, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, for now, I think we need to differentiate here or separate selecting the item code, okay, or the action versus the quantity. So it's a good thing here to separate these functions from each other. So I want to separate them by saying I just copy here, okay. I just want to remove quantity here, okay. And here I want just to say select quantity for the item, and just organizational thing, as you can see here. So I want to separate them together. Why? Because for selecting the for the code, not only sometimes I don't want the quantity, because maybe the user enter 0 to indicate that he want to exit. Okay, maybe he enters, for example, 100 to indicate that he want to cancel. So you do something else. Only if he enters a valid code, we want to enter the quantity. That's why we want to do that. Okay. In addition to that, let's roll back this. Let's remove the -1 and do that later. So here, whatever the user item he enters, item code or action. So it's a good idea to call it not item code, because maybe he will enter 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Or as I mentioned, we also want 2 actions in the flow chart. If you remember the action, we need him also, the user or the cashier might enter 100 to indicate canceling an item, or 0 to exit. Okay, so 0 and 100 need to be added to the menu. So let's go to the menu here. This is the menu. So after he enter all the things, we can add one item here, system.out 0 for exit. Okay, and maybe \t tab to 100 for what here you will have it, a code for what, for cancel or remove item. Okay, and this way if we run again, you will see that in addition to this menu, the user or the cashier can add 0 to exit and 100 to what, to cancel item. There is some spaces. I can put new line to put it, maybe new line, it would be more appropriate maybe, as you can see here. See, so 0 for exit, or I can separate both of them. I can add, just in case, new line here. Yeah, it looks like neater or better, I don't know, it's up to you. Okay, you can reformat things as you want. This is one thing we want to do. That's why I separated these two methods. One method to select the code only, and I can check if the code was an item or an action. So here, these are the items, and here these are for actions, which indicates 0 for exiting and 100 for canceling. Okay, so I separate them and I consider have them in the menu. Okay, okay, so let's go back here and see. Let's look at the loop here, and you'll see, okay, you read the code. So, and notice inside the loop you need to read the code. So how do you read the code? So you just say var the code will be what in this case, or there's no need to say code, you just say prompt enter. You need to enter the action or the code, right? So here you could say select instead of prompt. If you look at the method that I just did, you can use this method, enter item code, and he will give you a number that represents that item code. Okay, so here, and this will be saved in the current code. So the current code could be action, could be code. So this is agreed upon by me. So I design it this way. You can design it the way you want. So here you just say select item code. Okay. Now, if you look select item code, it's inside infinite loop, as you can see here. So if I run, you see after this, enter item code, I can say 1. It will go back item 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0. It's not working because I didn't programming. It's an infinite loop, as you can see here. You see that? So one thing you want to check here is, okay, you selected item code. Now, whatever you selected is in the current code, right? So one thing is you need to check, do I want to exit? Okay, so I can say, okay, if the user selected, if current code equal 0, okay, I think equal 0 is similar to Python. And notice that here in the if statement here, I'm going to exit, okay, by breaking the loop. By breaking the loop, there is a method or structure called break. See that? So if the user hits 0, that means I have to break and exit the loop. Okay? Okay. Let's try it. Okay, always try your code here. So you see this simple loop. You keep asking the user, what is your option? What is your option? You process. One of the processing thing is exiting the loop, and you need to calculate here. Once you reach here, you need to calculate the bill, and we will see how can we do that. Okay. Again, look here, you read the code, you check. If it's 0, you calculate the bill and you're done. Let's see, does it work? So maybe you will say, I want to buy chips, I want to buy juice, and I'm done, 0. And here's what? Done. So if you want, also you can say system.out, thank you for shopping with us. Your bill is, and you give him his bill, of course. You can try this. So I buy chips, juice, and after that I am done. Thank you for shopping with us. Your bill is, and you need to calculate the bills in a second, okay? Now this is one option. Now notice that every time enter your code, you will see that after you entering the code, you're supposed to get the menu, by the way. So it's a good idea here to display the menu again, so that you don't want to memorize what is or go up and down to see what is the items. So inside the while loop, I'm also, after selecting the code, I am displaying the menu again. So let's look. So this is inside what? The loop. Again, begin the loop, end the loop here for the while, and there is select the item, checking if the current code is 0 to exit. If not, I will display the menu. Otherwise, it breaks. So break, it will break the loop, which means at this point, it will jump to the outside the loop. Okay, so let's look at how does it go. So if I say I want chips 1, oh, excellent. So now he display the menu again. So I want, let's say, coffee 6. Okay, I am done 0. So he will tell me thank you. You see, so every time you display the menu. Okay, now I didn't incorporate the value for what, for the quantity, but in a second. Now, one thing is, if the current code is 0, this is what we are trying to do. If the current code is 0, you exit. What else? If the current code is invalid, how can we know it's invalid? Okay, we can say else if, of course here, if else for the, I will have if else, but in Java you will say else if. You don't say elif. You need to write it completely. Now, if the current code, let's see, valid code means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 0 and 100, right? So in the else here, I know that it's not 0, right? So let's have 100 as equal 100. What does that mean? It means cancel. So this is to be done. To cancel, to be done. So here, let's say nothing will be done here. Okay. I will ask you to do it honestly, but so I'll see how would you do it. But for now, let's focus on, if the current code is 0, you break, you finish. If it's 100, you need to cancel that order or a certain thing in there. Else, if current code is greater than or equal what? 1, right? Or let's say it's okay, greater than or equal 1, and here's and, you see and in Java. Current code is what? Less than or equal, how many items do I have? So I can use items dot length. It could be, I can add many, so it will work also. So in this case, I have six items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So item 6. So here I want to add to the bill, right? I need to add to the bill. How? I need to obtain the quantity. So I need to keep track of two things: the code of the item, or the item code, and the quantity. And I want to put them in a list or in a structure so that I keep track of them. Okay. Now, if none of these, what does that mean? Invalid item, right? So if none of these, if the if statement, if else went all the way down here, it means the user enters something not 1 to 6, not 0, not 100, which means what? Something invalid. Okay, invalid item, try again. Okay, and after that the menu will be displayed as you can see here. Okay, let me print something here just for canceling. System item will be cancelled. Okay, and let me print something here just to indicate you chose, let's see, plus, and let's see, items of current code -1 as we agreed upon, and let's see how does it go. Okay, so I will print something, but this is not it, because more things need to be done. Okay, let's see. Always run your code, look at your code. So here I will say, okay, I want, for example, juice, so 2. So he told me what? You chose what? Juice drink. You see, now you will continue. So let's say coffee, 6. He told me what? You chose what? Coffee. Maybe I will say I want coffee again. So okay, you chose what? Coffee again. You see, and here I want 0 to finish, or 100. So he told me item will be cancelled. Okay, and here I say I'm done. Okay, you're done. So bill will be calculated. Okay, you see the structure of the algorithm here. It's very, very much like this. Okay, now let's complete things. Notice that if you want to exit, yes, you will exit right away. If you want to cancel, we agreed that you're gonna do it. I will instruct you how to do it. The remaining thing is if you want to have the bill itself. So in order to do the bill, first you need to define how can you keep track of the item. Notice that the item could be 1 item, 2 item, 3 item, 0 item, as many as you want, right? So how can we do that? So one way to do it is, okay, you can define an array. Of course, so far in Java, we know arrays. In Python, you know list, maps, and others, but we're not gonna touch them for now. So let's focus on array. So we'll define, for example, an integer array. Okay, so let's call it receipt, bill, whatever you want. So bill, okay, and let's create the integer array to hold. Let's agree that we can hold up to 10 items. 10 items is reasonable. Okay, so everything the user will enter, okay, it will be saved in this bill code or this array. So this is an integer array, or you can call it list if you want. But here array in Java means there's a number of element that is fixed, which means here the Java compiler will reserve 10 integers in this bill code, and you can access them bill code 0, bill code of 1, 2, 3 until 10. Okay, for now let's restrict it to 10. Okay, notice that for each item also we need what? We need bill quantity. Okay, quantity. Okay, also it has to be 10 also. I'm putting space, I shouldn't put space actually, but just to show you that there is empty brackets here, but you don't have to actually. Okay, now bill quantity, bill code, so it's as if that I want, for example, chips and quantity 3, I want juice quantity 1, I want biscuit quantity 5, and so on and so forth. Okay, and I want to indicate how many items do I have. So I will define also integer, and I say the index, okay, and the bill index, which currently is going to be 0. Okay, currently these arrays are not empty, they are full of default value of integer, which is zeros. So currently, but if the bill index is 0, this index that nothing is there. The number of element is what? Is 0. Nothing is there. Or to be yes, to be in the safe side, it's better to have them at index -1 to indicate that currently nothing has been what ordered, nothing has been what scanned. Okay. Now let's see here. In the code here, we're gonna populate that. So here, where you want to add things here, add to the bill. Okay. So if you want to add to the bill, the first thing you want to do is you need to increment the bill index by 1. So now the first element of the bill index will be 1. I'm sorry, 0. Okay. And here you need to populate bill code. So bill code of bill index, I can call it B index. It's just to make things a little bit, how about that? Make it a little bit less write-up, I mean. The bill index, okay. Now, what is the code in the bill here? It's gonna be the current code -1, right? The current code -1, because if the user enters 2, okay, it's juice, but it has to be 1 in the array. Remember in the array? Let's maybe bring you the array again. Here, if the user choose 3, okay, it's the code, but in the index will be 2, so you subtract it by 1. Okay, so I think I misspelled here. Let's be called index, B index. Okay. In addition to that, you need the quantity. Now we need the quantity. What is the quantity? Now you can ask the user to enter the quantity. Yeah, I need to fix this too. So what the quantity? Remember that we have select quantity here under quantity here. So we can right away just say here, where here, just select quantity. Okay. And once you select the quantity, what will happen in the quantity is the user will be, the cashier will be prompted to enter the quantity, and he will enter either empty or he enter 5, 6, 7. And things will be saved in the quantity here. So where is it here? Okay, so I'm going to say bill code B index equal current quantity. You see, there's no need to subtract anything. The only thing is that whatever value entered and saved in the current quantity, remember these two variables here, accessible everywhere. I am changing them here, and as you can see, I am doing the thing to be done. Okay. So this is the part of the code. So let me print them. Okay. Always print and make sure that you are doing the right thing. So I will print them here. So you choose, I will not say items here, or I can say items that I will be using the B index. Okay. And I say quantity. What is the quantity in this case? You can say current quantity or the bill. Oh, I made a mistake. Here, it's not bill code. It should be bill quantity. You see that? Okay, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Bill quantity. Okay. So I will be plus, and the quantity will be bill quantity of B index. Okay. And that's it. Let's see how does it go. Okay. So let's say I want juice too. Now he is asking me to enter quantity. Let's say I want 4 of the quantity. So he say you choose chips quantity 4. You see that? Let's say I choose 12, and he will tell me what? Invalid item. Try again. Let's say I choose 5, and he will tell me enter the quantity. 5 is candy, so I want 3 candies. and you will say you choose juice. Oh, I chose, I'm sorry, it's as if I chose 5, enter item 5, candy, and quantity 3. Yeah, I made a mistake, right? What's the mistake? What did I do? What's the error that I did here? Okay, what's the error? See, there's a mistake here, right? I choose 5, right? 5 is candy. And 3, it should be 3 candy, but he is entering what here? Juice. So there's a problem. What's the problem here? I can see the problem. What I'm printing here. So what I'm printing here is not the right thing here. So I'm see B index. Okay, it's not the B index. It should be items of the bill code of index. It's double array inside array, as you can see. So this is the item that I was select. I want that code to be accessed in the items. It's a little bit complicated somehow, right? But I think you've been in this in Python by nesting the indices inside the item. So here the bill code B index is the item that was selected, like 3, and I want the name, the description of the item from the items. So this way it will fix that. Okay, let me stop it and run again. So if I want chips 1, 2, it tells me chips quantity 2. If I say 5, 3, it told me candy quantity 3. It's going very good. If I say, for example, 12, it will be invalid item, as you can see here. If I say, for example, 6 coffee and 6 coffee, which means a code coffee and 1 coffee, I can say enter, and he will tell me, okay, coffee. There's no need to enter anything, just enter or empty. It will give you what? Quantity 1. And now I can say 0, I am done. 0, I am done. Now, once you are here, you are finished. Now you know what are the items and what are the quantity, and they are saved where? Here, right? Now you can print the bill, right? When you exit the loop here, thank you, here we can calculate the bill. So how can we calculate the bill? So I can say here system out. I can have a fancy thing like bill, like this. Nobody likes bill, but here's we come. So what do I want to do? I need to have a loop over the bill code and bill quantity. And of course, for each bill code, I can access the item, display it. I can access also the price. And eventually, I sum up things and print them. Okay. So uh, let's see how can we do that. So you need a loop I equals 0, starting from 0, and I less than what? Bill B index, because the number of item in the bill, we said at most 10, but in many cases we're not going to accept more than 10. So you need to put, and this should be equal also. If you look at the I plus plus, okay. Now here we want, I will be using I'll be using system printf because it's easier. So I will say, let's say, let me put, for example, the description, or maybe percentage %d, which is the item 1, 2, 3, okay. And after that, I want the description percentage %s, and I want maybe tab here. I can add tab, and I will say, okay, I want the quantity. Maybe I'll put the price here. How about that? Percentage %f 0.2. And typically I want the quantity, which is a digit, okay, or integer, and maybe I want new line here. So the first thing I want, which is I plus 1, which is 1, 2, 3. So items, the item itself, I can see here item 1, item 2, item 3. And after that, I want, let me just define here string, the item itself. Okay, so I can say items of, and from the items of, I can get the bill item. They call it bill item, I guess. Bill code, okay, of I. So here I cut the item. Also, I can get the quantity, okay, by saying, how can I get the quantity? I say bill quantity of I. So all of them accumulated were inside the two arrays. Now all what I need is to print them one by one. So I say item here, and of course here I need also the price of the item. So let me float price, and the prices of the same thing here. Okay, remember the semicolon. So after the item you see the price, and after at the end you will put the quantity, and let's see how does it go. Okay, so here I am trying to define variables for each item. So let's say I want 3 chips, okay, and I want 1 water number 4, and I want coffee, 1 coffee, 6, and I am done. And here what I got, item 1 chips, 1.5 dirham, 3 of them, 1 water, and 3 what? 1 coffee. Okay, now I need to add them up, by the way. Okay, first I need to the subtotal maybe, so I can say subtotal. So how can I calculate the subtotal? I can say quantity times what? The price, right? So you get the subtotal. So I can add it here at the end here. I can see \t to indicate tab, and I can say percentage f, and don't forget to put 0.2 here. So let me bring this down because it becomes a little bit crowded. I can add subtotal. Okay, now at the end here, notice that here you need to put the total. Maybe you want to put dash like this, and you need to the total bill, and you need sum. Okay, or so to do that, typical way is just to define sum equals 0, and here you say sum plus equal subtotal. Okay, so that you can print the total bill or bill total. Okay, you can run and see how does it go. Okay, so let's try to add. I want 5 juice. I want 1 coffee, 6. Enter. I want 3 biscuits, biscuit number 3 and 3, and I am done. And here what I have, item 1 juice, 2 dirham times 5 equal 10. 1 coffee, 4.5 times 1 equal 4.5. Biscuit, 3 biscuits times 2.5, 7, and the total 22 dirhams. A lot of money. Okay. Okay, so this is the run. I will make this code available to you to play around, to play. Again, I don't claim that this is the perfect way to do this algorithm. So algorithm means you can devise your own algorithm to do things. And for that, I guess you can do different kind of ways to reorganize your code, reorganize your code in a better way. But again, as you see me, as you have seen me here, I am breaking the code into pieces. I'm looking at each piece. I remember what each piece was meant for. I tried to run several times. I check my code. If there's a bug, I go back to my code and look it up. And I believe that you need to go back to the lecture to go over the basics of if statement loops and to migrate from a little bit, not migrate, to know how the structures of Java look like. So if statement, little bit different, maybe identical, but you will see different kind of thing there. I think the remaining thing is about canceling. I can, if you want, I can discuss it with you if you want to. But basically, to cancel thing, you need to do two things. Similarly, you need to identify the code of the item that you want to cancel and the quantity. Maybe you bought 5 and you want to return 2. So you need to read the code and the quantity, okay, and to do what? Reduction. And the reduction, it couldn't be a reduction. Sometimes in computer science, what they do is they don't remove things. What they do the opposite transaction. So instead of having, let's say, biscuit 2 to be cancelled, instead of the subtotal, they put the minus subtotal so that they subtract it. So when you calculate the bill, you can tell there's a biscuit minus y, which means it was returned, to indicate, and the amount will be reduced accordingly, of course. Also, you need to make sure that whatever code that was canned, it does exist. So it doesn't make sense you return something that you did not buy. So if you bought a biscuit, let's say with count 3, you can return 1 or 2 or 3. You cannot return 4. So you need to pay attention to this. So canceling is a little bit, it requires some careful design, careful logic to do it. Okay. Okay, that's it for today, or for this recording. Next time we will continue with this by including files. So what if you want to keep track of the records in a file or read it from a file? So this is something we'll look at. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.